Welcome, and thank you for viewing this amazing product. Like a fire extinguisher for a fire, we now have a spill extinguisher for an oil spill. Hydro C6H6 is truly what we've been waiting for to protect our shores from environmentally damaging oil spills that can and do sometimes happen.
Hello and welcome to HistoryPod. On the 24th of March 1989, the oil tanker Exxon Valdez struck Bligh Reef in Alaska's Prince William Sound and began spilling approximately 11 million gallons of crude oil into the waters. Exxon Valdez had only recently departed the Valdez Marine Terminal when the captain, Joseph Hazelwood, left third mate Gregory Cousins in charge of steering the vessel while he retired to his quarters. Having moved outside the usual shipping lanes to avoid small icebergs that had been sighted earlier, the ship struck the reef at 12:04 a.m. Described by the explorer John Muir as a bright and spacious wonderland, Prince William Sound is one of the world's most remote and beautiful locations. This made the cleanup operation both challenging and expensive. Exxon and the Alyeska Pipeline Company were later criticised for their response to the spill, which initially used chemical dispersants on the oil. They later attempted a mechanical cleanup, but despite their attempts to control the situation, the oil eventually spread over more than 1,000 miles of coastline and 11,000 square miles of water. High-pressure hot water that was sprayed over the beaches to displace the oil was also later found to have destroyed organisms in the environment. These not only formed a vital part of the food chain, but could also help to biodegrade the oil. Millions of fish and hundreds of thousands of seabirds died in the immediate aftermath of the disaster, while hundreds of otters and seals, as well as more than a dozen orcas, also perished as a result of the oil spill. In total, only 10% of the lost oil was completely retrieved, and this means that even now, decades after the spill, hundreds of miles of Alaskan beaches are still polluted with crude oil lying just below the sandy surface.
Preparing for a disaster before it's an emergency is the best way to mitigate any damage. How do you want to deal with this? As a gooey mess like this, or as solid or granular floating rubber? Oil, whether a liquid goo or encapsulated with Hydro C, will have to be picked up sooner or later. Picking up stiff rubber pieces is a lot more productive, and it never harms the environment while it waits for removal. Meet Hydro C6H6, Hydro C for short. It's the cutting edge in technology for oil spills. This material does not simply absorb oil like a kitty litter or peat moss type of product. It literally molecularly encapsulates it and makes a new material from it. When Hydro C comes into contact with any hydrocarbon, like oil, fuel, etc., it quickly binds with it and transforms into synthetic rubber. That oil will never be oil again unless it is re-refined. It looks like a handful of snow. It's certainly as light and white and fluffy as snow, although thankfully it's not as cold. In 1989, when Valdez struck the reef, we did the best we could, but today there are far better options. For decades, a better option is what we've been searching for, and Hydro C is literally light years ahead of where we've come from. Keeping the shoreline pristine was the long sought after goal, and we can better achieve that goal by having small depots of Hydro C located near eco-sensitive areas where they meet up with pipelines. Like a fire extinguisher for a fire, a ready supply of Hydro C is paramount to getting it on site fast enough to mitigate or even eliminate devastating harm to the environment and ecosystem. These notes help us understand what Hydro C is capable of doing and cost per liter. What is a carbon lock? Hydro C binds the long-chain hydrogen and carbon atoms into a rubbery matrix that will never allow them to be released. It becomes a new material. It's now synthetic rubber. It's environmentally inert and non-toxic to all living things. And the longer it waits to be cleaned up, the stronger the bonds become. Hydro C has been tested and approved for use on all inland and coastal waterways in North America by the Canadian and US governments. This video was recorded this winter by an oil field operator experimenting with Hydro C. He was so excited about it that he shot this video for us. He asked, why aren't we all aware of this stuff and using it all the time?